The Young and the Restless spoilers shock. Kyle Abbott had always struggled with his insecurities, and nothing ignited them more than the subtle distance forming between himself and Claire Newman. He had entered the relationship with a sense of triumph, believing that being with Claire would finally solidify his place not only in her life but in Genoa City's intricate power web. Yet as time passed, he began to notice the subtle shifts in her attention, the way her eyes lingered on Holden Novak, the way their conversations flowed with a natural ease that made him feel like an outsider in his own relationship. Kyle tried to tell himself it was nothing, that Claire was loyal, but the more he watched, the more it became clear. There was a growing bond between Claire and Holden, one he could neither interrupt nor compete with. For Kyle, who had already endured betrayal, scandal, and heartbreak, the thought of losing Claire to another man, especially Holden, was intolerable. Holden Novak presented himself as charming, steady, and trustworthy, but Kyle could not shake the conviction that there was more lurking beneath his polished exterior. He had observed enough to know Holden was not a man who operated without secrets, and the lack of transparency only fed Kyle's paranoia. Kyle began to suspect that Holden's motives were not purely romantic but entwined with deeper schemes, perhaps even criminal ones. The possibility that Claire, his girlfriend, might be pulled into Holden's orbit made Kyle's blood boil. He was determined not to stand idly by while someone like Holden encroached on the fragile stability of his life. But as Kyle wrestled with his jealousy, Audra Charles was working overtime to exploit every crack in his relationship. Audra was not a woman content with failure, and her fixation on undermining Kyle and Claire had only intensified. She made herself visible at just the right moments, whispered doubts into Kyle's ear, and played the long game of manipulation. Audra knew Kyle's vulnerabilities better than most, and she pressed them like a skilled tactician, ensuring that his doubts about Claire and Holden grew into obsessions. What Audra did not expect was that Kyle would turn her own tactics against her, luring her into a kiss in France not out of passion but strategy. It was a trap, carefully designed to see what she might reveal, to dig into the alliances she had quietly built, and the agreements she had made with none other than Victor Newman himself. The revelation that Audra had struck deals with Victor only deepened Kyle's turmoil. Victor, the mustachioed patriarch who always seemed to know more than he revealed, was both an enemy and a potential ally. Kyle understood that Victor had already given his approval for the relationship with Claire, but approval was never unconditional. It was leverage, a way of reminding Kyle that his personal life was inseparable from the broader chessboard of Newman and Abbott politics. Desperate and cornered, Kyle began to consider something drastic, enlisting Victor's help to uncover what Audra and Holden were hiding. It was a move that both terrified and thrilled him. Terrified, because aligning too closely with Victor always carried consequences, but thrilled because Victor's resources were unmatched, and his appetite for uncovering secrets was legendary. Kyle's thoughts turned darker as he contemplated the possibility of hiring a private investigator. If Victor's involvement gave him legitimacy, then a detective could give him the evidence he craved. He imagined the satisfaction of holding undeniable proof in his hands, the kind of truth that could destroy Holden's credibility and Audra's meddling, and restore his place at Claire's side. The thought consumed him, because without action he was powerless, and Kyle Abbott had grown weary of being powerless. Yet even as he plotted, a part of him feared what he might discover. Secrets were dangerous things, and whatever Audra and Holden were hiding in Los Angeles. It was clear from their evasions that it was both illegal and damaging enough to shatter reputations if exposed. The air around Kyle grew heavier with each passing day, his jealousy sharpening into obsession. Every time Claire and Holden exchanged a glance or shared a quiet moment, it fueled his paranoia. He tried to remind himself that Claire had chosen him, that Victor had even granted his blessing, but none of it was enough to soothe the gnawing anxiety that she was slipping away. He rationalized his choices by telling himself that hiring a detective, or even pulling Victor directly into the matter, was not about controlling Claire, it was about protecting her. He convinced himself that Holden was dangerous, that Audra was manipulative, and that if he did nothing, Claire would be consumed by their schemes. Victor, meanwhile, watched from the shadows, amused and perhaps slightly impressed by Kyle's desperation. The young Abbott had always been something of a wild card, never quite as cunning as his father Jack, never quite as reckless as Billy, but hovering uneasily between. Now, Victor saw in him a spark of determination that could either forge him into something formidable or crush him under the weight of his choices. If Kyle came to him for help, Victor would no doubt exact a price, and that price would ripple outward through the tangled alliances of Genoa City. As for Audra and Holden, their silence about Los Angeles only confirmed that something damning was buried there. The vague evasions, the sharp looks exchanged when the subject arose, the way they closed ranks whenever questions surfaced, said it all painted a picture of guilt. Kyle knew he was right to dig, but the question remained, could he handle the truth once he unearthed it? If Holden's past was as dangerous as Kyle suspected, then Claire's involvement, even indirectly, could place her in jeopardy. And if Audra's deals with Victor went deeper than he realized, then Kyle's alliance with Victor might become less of a partnership and more of a trap. The drama was set to ignite, with Kyle straddling the line between desperate lover and ruthless investigator. His jealousy had already begun to consume him, and soon it would drive him to choices that could alter the landscape of Genoa City. Whether he found salvation or destruction in Victor's shadow remained to be seen, but one truth was certain: the secrets Audra and Holden carried from Los Angeles would not stay hidden forever. And when they surfaced, they would drag every Kyle, Claire, Victor, and even Jack into the storm. Audra Charles had always been dangerous, but the whispers now circulating in Genoa City painted her in even darker shades. Rumors suggested that in Los Angeles, long before she returned to weave herself into the lives of the Newmans and Abbotts, Audra had been entangled in a crime that went far beyond her usual games of seduction and manipulation. The whispers spoke of blood, of a night gone wrong, of a life taken in circumstances Audra had tried desperately to bury. And if the rumors were true, she had not buried it alone. Holden Novak, the man now growing closer to Claire Newman and drawing jealous fury from Kyle Abbott, had been there too, not as an innocent bystander but as an accomplice, helping Audra cover the trail, ensuring the evidence of her darkest secret never saw the light of day. The possibility that murder lay at the core of their alliance explained everything: their secrecy about Los Angeles, their tight-lipped deflections, and their determination to shield each other at all costs. For Kyle, the suspicion was both vindication and terror. His gut had always screamed that Holden was hiding something, and now the possibility of murder confirmed that instinct in the most horrifying way. But it also placed him in an impossible position. How could he expose the truth without dragging Claire into a nightmare? How could he balance his need for justice with his desire to keep her safe? He knew he had to tell her eventually, had to find a way to reveal Holden's role in whatever happened in Los Angeles. But the risk of breaking her heart or losing her trust weighed on him like a stone. Still, Kyle's obsession with truth grew, and he began to prepare himself for the moment when Claire would finally hear what Holden had done, even if it destroyed her. Meanwhile, Noel Newman's name surfaced again, linking the past to the present in unexpected ways. Noah had once been deeply involved with Audra, drawn into her intoxicating blend of ambition and chaos. Their relationship had ended, but the scars remained, and it now appeared that whatever Audra had done in Los Angeles, Noah might have been dangerously close to it. Perhaps he knew something he should not, perhaps he had witnessed something, or perhaps his ties to Audra made him a liability to her carefully buried secret. Sharon and Nick, sensing their son was once again being pulled toward darkness, prepared themselves to intervene. They had rescued Noah before, from heartbreak, from destructive choices, and now they would step in again, this time to pull him back from the edge of a conspiracy that could cost him far more than his future. It could cost him his life. Sharon's instincts were sharper than ever, the result of years of surviving betrayals, losses, and battles of her own. She sensed that Audra's hold over Noah was not fully broken, that the echoes of their past made him vulnerable. Nick, protective to the point of recklessness when it came to his children, swore he would not allow Audra to drag Noah into danger again. Together, they prepared to uncover whatever Audra and Holden had done, ready to expose the truth if it meant saving their son. Their journey to Los Angeles was not just about retracing steps but about confronting the shadow of Noah's past, ensuring that the secrets Audra thought she had buried would finally come to light. As these threads tightened, Genoa City braced for new rivals that promised to shake everything further. Roger Howarth's mysterious character, set to arrive in the fall, was whispered to be none other than a recast Tucker McCall. Tucker's history with Audra was checkered, volatile, and deeply toxic, marked by schemes and betrayals that blurred the lines between business and intimacy. If Tucker had returned to Dribburn, reimagineth and Audra's past sins could no longer remain buried. His presence alone threatened to drag her secrets out into the open, for Tucker was never one to forgive or forget. And if he had knowledge of her darkest crime, his reappearance could be the key that unraveled everything she and Holden had fought to conceal. At the same time, Tamara Braun's debut as Sienna Bacall promised another layer of intrigue. Sienna, a woman with ties to several characters already woven into the Audra Holden saga, was said to hold pieces of the puzzle no one else possessed. Perhaps she was connected to the victim of Audra's crime, or perhaps she herself had been part of the cover-up. Her arrival would not be coincidental but calculated, a force designed to collide with Audra at the worst possible moment. And in true soap opera fashion, her presence would ripple outward, connecting her not only to Audra but to Tucker, Holden, and possibly even Noah. To complicate matters further, Matt Cohen was set to arrive as Detective Burrow, the new officer in Genoa City stepping into the void left by Chance Chancellor's tragic departure. Detective Burrow was no lightweight. His reputation suggested a man relentless in pursuit of truth, and willing to be bought or intimidated. His first major case would no doubt involve unraveling the whispers of Los Angeles, digging into Holden and Audra's shared past, and chasing leads that others had been too afraid or to compromise to follow. For Kyle, this was both a blessing and a curse. A relentless detective meant the truth would eventually surface, but it also meant he might lose control of how it came out, and once the full scope of the crime was revealed, there would be no way to shield Claire from the fallout. As autumn loomed, Genoa City teetered on the edge of revelations that could fracture families and ignite wars. Kyle's jealousy had turned into a crusade for truth, one that would force him to decide whether protecting Claire meant lying to her or breaking her heart with honesty. Sharon and Nick's determination to rescue Noah from Audra's shadow would bring them into direct collision with Holden, who would do anything to protect the secret he and Audra shared. Tucker's reappearance, embodied in a new form, would resurface old betrayals and open new wounds, while Sienna Bacall's arrival promised fresh connections that would entangle everyone further. And Detective Burrow, relentless and incorruptible, would pull every thread until the entire tapestry of lies unraveled. The stage was set for an explosive reckoning. If Audra had indeed killed someone in Los Angeles, and if Holden had been her accomplice, then the secret was a ticking time bomb. The return of Noah into the center of the storm made the danger all the more personal for the Newmans, while Kyle's desperation to reveal the truth to Claire ensured that the Abbotts would be equally ensnared. With Tucker's shadow looming, Sienna's motives unclear, and Burrow's investigation pressing forward, the web grew tighter. And there would be no escaping the fallout once the truth finally burst into the open.